But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it. And the reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last.
What happens when Charlie Kirk slaps The View with a $100 million lawsuit and Sunny Hostin has a full-on meltdown live on air? You get a legal circus, a daytime soap opera, and an accidental comedy special all in one. Brace yourself as Sunny spirals, Whoopi glares, and Charlie tries to convince America he's the true victim of words. This unraveling has it all: tears, drama, lawsuits, and enough off-the-rails chaos to make Judge Judy throw in the towel. And just wait, because the first one to crack isn't even a lawyer.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there, of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country, that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to
The grand spectacle of a $100 million lawsuit, a number so jaw-droppingly huge, it feels less like a legal filing and more like Charlie Kirk's dream plan for buying a private island complete with a custom theme park and a fleet of jets on standby to escape the media frenzy he's helped ignite. The sheer scale of the figure screams for attention, dripping with drama and oversized ambition, like something ripped straight from the script of a big-budget Hollywood blockbuster.
Disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%. Right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men actually voting more for him, and you have and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the.
And the target of this headline-grabbing legal spectacle, The View that televised tempest in a teacup posing as thoughtful conversation. Less a panel and more a chaotic shouting match, the show regularly sacrifices nuance on the altar of over-caffeinated outrage, where every topic is inflated into a full-blown crisis. For years, it's served up daily doses of drama, transforming trivial celebrity gossip into moral battlegrounds and policy discussions into petty personal feuds.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump, and they don't want to be called stupid or uneducated.
Imagine a roundtable of seasoned interrupters where eye rolls are passed off as piercing critique and moral outrage is the loudest voice in the room. For years, this vocal flock has spun fury into false wisdom, dressing up opinion as undeniable truth. What they call conversation often resembles a choreographed gasp fest, with any opposing view met like a plot twist in a horror flick. But now at long last, someone has stepped in to throw a wrench or maybe a fire extinguisher into this blazing spectacle.
Points conference view is were in the front of turning out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs, and
I think it's important that every single person that attended that turning point, every Republican speak up against the against the flags that were waved.
you let them in.
President, open your
You
mouth.
let them in, and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complete.
Enter Charlie Kirk, a man unwilling to watch the chaos from the sidelines. Instead, he marched straight into the lion's den, shook hands with the beast, and dropped a $100 million lawsuit like a legal grenade. But this isn't just about the money. It's about drawing a definitive line in the sand against the tidal wave of smug, unearned certainty dressed up as wisdom. Kirk's lawsuit isn't just a legal action, it's a cultural intervention. He's not merely challenging a talk show, he's confronting a megaphone of mass melodrama. This is less about courtrooms and more about calling out the emotional free for all, where volume is mistaken for value and outrage is confused with intellect. His legal strike acts like a long overdue quiet pleas to a platform that seems allergic to silence, treating every pause like dead air to be filled with shrieking. This isn't illegal grandstanding, it's a declaration of war on the weaponization of ignorance. Kirk's suit is a high-stakes attempt to hold accountable a media machine that has allowed a daily soapbox of performative outrage to shape public discourse. The $100 million figure isn't about ego or revenge, it's a siren blaring through the noise demanding we rethink what we allowing to influence the national conversation. In taking aim at The View, Kirk is going after more than its hosts. He's targeting the culture of theatrical indignation that powers it. It's a bold, maybe even quixotic move, but one that forces a necessary question: when daytime TV becomes indistinguishable from satire, isn't it time someone hits pause and says enough?
Now we begin with a shocking apology just a short time ago from the ladies of The View to Turning Point USA. A war of words broke out after the conservative group was rallying the next generation of voters at its youth summit in Tampa, Florida this weekend. And the liberal panel just couldn't help themselves. The group sent a scathing cease and desist letter after hosts on The View suggested that Turning Point had embraced neo-Nazis who show.
Let's be brutally honest, The View isn't a talk show, it's a midday melodrama wrapped in clashing prints and even louder opinions. Less a roundtable, more a rotating stage for sanctimonious sound bites. It's where facts get lightly massaged and opinions are served raw, then topped with a generous sprinkle of moral superiority. At the center of this philosophical potluck is Sunny Hostin, who traded courtroom gravitas for cue cards and a spotlight. These days, her law degree functions more like a social media flex than a serious tool, legal buzzwords tossed around with the flair of an influencer peddling essential oils for enlightenment. But now irony has spun back around. She's no longer commenting on legal drama, she's in the middle of one. Forget the tired narrative of silencing women. This isn't about gag orders, it's about accountability. Daytime TV can parade as the last bastion of freewheeling opinion, but freedom doesn't mean freedom from consequence. When so-called hot takes slide into reputation-destroying monologues, don't be shocked when the law knocks. Charlie Kirk's lawsuit isn't a PR stunt, it's a reckoning. After years of verbal drive-bys and unchecked theatrics posing as discourse, someone finally hit the brakes and asked the obvious question: where's the accountability? And maybe, just maybe, it's about time someone answered.
To humble the audience a little bit, Donald Trump won by less than a point in Wisconsin, about 28,000 votes. He won by a point-ish, 1.2 in Michigan, and then he won by 1 point in Pennsylvania. And so, Megan, it is conceivable that without this record movement of youth vote, he doesn't.
For over a decade, The View has functioned more like a hall pass for unchecked rhetoric than a space for meaningful dialogue where yelling tramples nuanced dissent, gets steamrolled, and smugness is served with a side of Fox empowerment. What the show brands as bold commentary often feels more like ideological theater choreographed for viral moments and standing ovations. But somewhere between applause breaks and commercial bumpers, they forgot a crucial truth: broadcasting opinions to millions comes with strings and sometimes subpoenas. This isn't some backwards David versus Goliath tale. It's about a media brand that's grown far too comfortable lobbing accusations from the safety of a cushy studio without ever facing the fallout. Now Charlie Kirk is pulling back the curtain on what happens when the echo chamber meets accountability. He's not waging a culture war, he's calling time on a daytime charade. He's doing what millions of frustrated viewers have only dreamed of, demanding that reckless commentary finally face a reality check. Because in a world flooded with noise headlines and hashtags, truth can be optional, and neither can responsibility. So when the next episode airs, maybe skip the popcorn and grab a legal pad instead. The era of televised immunity might just be ending, and honestly, it's long overdue.
It's amazing. She's specifically there referring to the women, but of course it's the non-college educated men as well who voted for Donald Trump. And the nerve of this woman to whom the country has given so much to try to dump on people who didn't go to college. Look at you, look at your achievements. How do you like the so-called uneducated now?
Let's be clear, this isn't a tantrum, it's a calculated power move. Charlie Kirk is flipping the script on a show that's made a living off demonizing dissent. He's forcing the self-anointed queens of clamor to step outside their bubble of applause and cue cards and actually defend their rhetoric in a space where sound bites won to save them. This isn't a cancel culture, it's accountability. It's the loud finally being told to lower the volume. And the irony, absolutely rich. The View, which has long cloaked itself in the banner of free speech, now finds itself having to explain just how free that speech really was when it casually smeared a public figure for sport. Sunny Hostin might want to revisit her law books, because this lawsuit isn't a vanity project, it's a reckoning. Cue the quiet panic at ABC. Legal teams are combing through years of offhanded jabs like they re-decoding ancient scripture. Producers are scrambling to retool a show that spent years doubling as a megaphone for moral grandstanding and partisan potshots. Meanwhile, the hosts, long accustomed to their velvet thrones and studio applause, are confronting a harsh new reality. Courtrooms don't clap when you land a zinger. And oh, the irony of it all. For years, The View has served up theatrical outrage, moral superiority, and performative gasps over everything from coffee orders to sweater choices. But now the drama is real, the stakes are legal, and for once the script isn't theirs to control.
You think if a liberal came to speak at University of Kentucky, they'd give an open mic like I just did to a conservative and had a discussion like this?
I certainly hope they would.
No, they wouldn't. Because speech is not a left-wing value. That is why they have to deploy shock troops called Antifa to go after everywhere I go. When I go to University of California, Davis next week, there has to be 120 police officers because of the threats, the violent threats of liberals that want me dead, that want to disrupt our events. There are no right-wing hecklers that come to events.
Their outrage machine never rests, fueled by carefully curated panel indignation, synchronized head nods, and enough self-congratulatory applause to power a small town. But now they refacing a courtroom instead of a camera caught blinking like deer in the legal headlights. Suddenly, the relentless shouting turns into a chorus of denial, as if they've all collectively forgotten the years of verbal shrapnel they gleefully fired in every direction. These women have weaponized daytime TV, delivering character assassinations between skincare commercials. They've dished it out like cafeteria slop, unfiltered and overflowing. But now, Charlie Kirk steps onto the stage not with a fiery comeback, but with subpoenas and court documents. He didn't come armed with arguments, he brought reinforcements. And let's be clear, this legal battle isn't just Kirk's personal crusade. It's a powerful critique and indictment of a media juggernaut masquerading as journalism, but operating more like a glittering echo chamber. This lawsuit doesn't just ruffle feathers, it pulls the entire peacock bald. It's not just a fight with individual hosts, it's a showdown with the smug system that believes dissent should be shouted down, not debated.
I don't want to say too much, but we're going to have a lot of fun at the Department of Education. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Can I tell you something? Like, I've had quite a few people contact me about that particular post. Like, I'm sure I have 1/100th of what you're getting, but people are contacting me about cabinet posts. I'm like, I got nothing.
I mean, yeah, I'm actually, after this conversation, heading to Mar-a-Lago for a week, and we have a lot to sift through, and if I could be helpful, I have asked. I want to be actively involved in all things education, as you can imagine.
This is more than just a public spat, it's a direct challenge to a format that hides behind hot topics and laugh tracks while bullying anyone who dares to think differently. What we were witnessing isn't a courtroom drama, it's a reckoning. Because eventually, even the loudest echo chamber meets someone who's immune to the noise, someone who shows up not to argue, but to dismantle. That $100 million figure, it's not just a number, it's a siren blaring in the ears of media bullies everywhere. You want to treat public figures like pinatas on national TV, fine. But no, this one of them might just swing back with litigation papers instead of witty comebacks. Sure, The View's ratings might spike, controversy always sells, but so does accountability. Kirk's lawsuit brings weight to the frivolity, finally forcing the hosts to realize their sound bites have real consequences. They can't just snark their way out of this. And Sunny Hostin, the supposed legal expert, now finds herself in the center of a real legal storm. This isn't a mock trial where you casually toss around words like intent and malice over chamomile tea. The courtroom doesn't care about your Twitter followers or how passionate your monologues sound. Facts matter. Truth matters. And so does the damage reckless rhetoric can cause. Pause for a moment to take in what's happening here. Charlie Kirk, a man often mocked for being loud, is suing the show that built its empire on being even louder. And instead of dodging the punches, he's throwing a knockout blow at the smug faces of daytime hypocrisy. Because let's be honest, The View hasn't been insightful for a long time. It's become a daily tantrum in designer outfits. It's not just that the hosts are biased, it's that they re-aggressively so. Every dissenting opinion is met with scoffs, passive-aggressive clapping, and Sunny's trademark legal lectures. But this time, they not dealing with a bad Twitter take, they refacing a $100 million wake-up call. Of course, Kirk's critics will call this performative. They'll say it's a PR stunt. But if this is performance, then give him an Oscar, because he's doing what The View never could, making noise that truly matters. His lawsuit draws a clear line in the sand and shouts enough with the mock trials disguised as morning entertainment. Supporters will argue it's satire, opinion, or protected speech. But when you systematically mischaracterize someone, mock their beliefs, and pass judgment before the first commercial break, you not being neutral, you assassinating. This lawsuit might not destroy The View, but it could force them to face themselves. Maybe, just maybe, it will make them think twice before turning people into punchlines. Maybe it will remind them that words carry weight and sometimes legal consequences. The audience deserves better. They deserve more than 5 people yelling over each other and calling it journalism. They deserve clarity, fairness, and maybe even a little humility. The View has given none of that. But thanks to Charlie Kirk, they might finally be held to a higher standard than who can roll their eyes the hardest. In the end, this isn't just a lawsuit, it's a statement. A challenge to a media landscape where mockery masquerades as analysis and the loudest voices drown out the truth. It's time to turn down the volume, and this courtroom drama might just be the mute button we didn't know we needed. So laugh at the spectacle if you want. But remember, beneath the headlines and hashtags lies a very real question of responsibility, and The View is being called to answer for the years it's spent asking the wrong ones.